Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by SpreadX, Sporting Index and oddschecker. I'm your host, George Elek, and after a week's break, I'm delighted to be rejoined by Jack Wright and from WhoScored, Dan Worth. How are you guys? I never really asked you that. I thought this time it's been a while.
Really well, thanks.
Yeah?
Yeah, how are you?
That's good. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. The break felt like it was forever.
Now, big game on Saturday. My team, Oxford, taking on your team, Reading.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a ticket.
No, I couldn't. Well, I probably could in the Oxford end.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not,
I
I'm not into that.
It's one of those things where Reading fans are like, the Oxford haven't sold any tickets. It's because it's not a rivalry. We don't sell out ever. Like, we only sell out against Swindon, our rivals, so that's probably why. Big game.
I was very disappointed. I looked through the itinerary and that wasn't featured. I was disappointed that game wasn't there. But snapshot, come on, what we're expecting while we're talking about the big one?
I don't want to say.
Okay.
I think Oxford are too short.
That's the one way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean Reading win, I think, for sure. Been a tough window, so we're going to come back fighting.
Whose mood is going to be higher or lower between mine and Dan's at 2:30 on Saturday?
I think it's going to be a draw.
So mine will be lower. Fine, yours will be higher.
Yeah.
Right, enough of that nonsense. Let's get into the weekend's football. This is a show where we preview the football in both the Championship and the Premier League by looking at the midpoints on Sporting Index and SpreadX's spread markets, and we will say if we think they will go higher or lower at the eventuality at the end of the game. So make sure if you haven't got a SpreadX or a Sporting Index account, there's a new customer offer, bet 25 get 50. You can find the link in the description below. So click on that, set up an account, T's and C's do apply, and you can find all the details for the offer there. Right, into the Championship is where we're going to start. Bristol City doing okay under Liam Manning, hosting Leeds United, who under Daniel Farker are hoping to maintain a challenge for the automatic promotion places and maybe more, with Leicester suddenly back. Well, still clear, but not gone as it is at the moment. Leeds are the favourites for this one. We're looking at the supremacy market here. Leeds are 0.85 favourites, so that means if you were to buy at 0.85, then you would make profit of 0.15 if they were one to win by a singular goal and so on and so forth. So lower here would mean Bristol City or a draw. Higher would be a Leeds victory. What do you reckon? Higher or lower? Bristol City against Leeds. Leeds over 3-2-1. Go.
I went early, and I think you both just thought, well, we can
spot
change
it.
because I can see what he's gone for.
Well, I mean, actually, it's good that you say that because it's a good time to mention that we all got 3 out of 8 last week.
Yeah.
So you're currently on 55%. I'm 58%. Jack's winning on 60%. You guys at home, 47%, falling behind that halfway mark. But so basically, the notion of us seeing what you've done and changing is frankly ridiculous.
Yeah, fair enough. But I also need the differentials if I'm going to bridge that gap. So.
Yeah, but that would mean you wait until you see what we do and then you changing it.
Yeah.
He also needs to be right. That's what
Yeah.
he needs to be. That's the most important thing.
Actually, I should have considered that.
Yeah.
Yes, Leeds are going to win. They won the reverse 2-1. That'll do. If that happens again here,
Fine.
be lovely. I think
How did those stats go? You tweeted about the historical data between Chelsea and Liverpool last night.
Good. Yeah. I took your approach in that if you outline a long trend, it's bound to go the other way. It's bound to.
Weird then that you posted the bet slip of the
It is.
unders.
Yeah, it is.
Put people away.
It is a little bit weird.
Yeah. Go on.
Right. No, Leeds just very good. They have the chance to go ahead of Southampton here, albeit, with I think they'll have 2 games in hand after this fixture, but that must be playing on their mind and keeping the pressure on. They have a plethora of attacking prowess with the likes of Dan James, Somerville and Pirot, all 10 plus goals this season, which is quite nice and also shows they're sharing it around. They're not reliant on one player. Somerville is the best player in the league as per WhoScored with a 7.80 rating, which for those of you who don't know is pretty high, and has won 11 Player of the Match awards already.
One-man team.
Nah, come on. They got the 10 plus goals for those 3 players. They share it around nicely. Friday night fun.
Do you know how many of those came away from home as player of the match?
I don't.
I'll be interested to know.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one.
Do.
But yeah, we know I like Friday night fun, and I know Jack is either going to tear me down on the Friday night stuff or boost me up.
Well, if you want to talk historical data on a Friday night.
Oh, God.
Bristol City are unbeaten in their last 5 Friday held league games, winning 3, drawing 2. 3 of those this season. as well. So they're fans of a Friday night too. I just think Bristol City are going to be tough to beat, and Leeds they've been grinding out results over the last few weeks. They've obviously got off to a great start to 2024. But I've seen a couple of their games. I watched them against Norwich, of course I did, and were arguably slightly fortunate to get the win in that one. I think you saw the celebrations at the end, which said that they were happy to take the 3 points, and that was at home, where obviously it's a fortress there, unbeaten this season. So away from home, I just feel that getting the draw on side here will be a shrewd move in a game which is, for us, the case of the X's, isn't it? Daniel Farke versus Liam Manning.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So
at least Farke achieved something with no, I mean, I've been lucky enough to watch a lot of Liam Manning's teams this season, and he thrives in environments where the opposition come onto them. Like I think he's got a reputation to play a certain way, but actually, Bristol City are a team who thrive in transitions. I think the way that Leeds will set up will really suit. And also Leeds this season have already lost 6 away games. They haven't lost any at home. Their away form is bad, and generally they've really struggled to break down teams, especially when they go behind, who sit in a low block. And Manning is absolutely expert, him and Chris Hogg, at setting up a team to sit in and be comfortable out of possession, and then take opportunities to spring and counter when they want to. So I think the way this game is set up should suit Bristol City. I think Leeds' inability to be as good on the road as they are at home has been over a long enough period now that we know there is an issue there, and it's especially been the case recently, although I do know that they put in a really good display at Cardiff last time out away from home. But before that, there's back-to-back defeats against Preston and West Brom in games where, again, they just really struggled to create too much. So, yeah, I am of the opinion that Bristol City will get something out of this. And if they do, it's going to be a massive issue for Leeds in their attempts to get out of this division this season. So I'm with you there.
Good.
On to the Premier League. Everton hosting Spurs. Spurs fresh off the back of a dramatic 3-2 win over Brentford in midweek. Everton with a goalless draw. We're looking at the first match goal here. So this is the time the first goal is scored. With spread X, the midpoint is 33.5. So lower would mean early goal. Higher would mean later than the 33rd and a half minute, 34th minute basically. So we're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, we're on our own this time.
So quickly, I feel like it's kind of going to bullying range. I've noticed.
Go on.
Because for the viewer, you write the script, you choose the
Choose the markets.
You choose the market.
You write the script.
Yeah, you don't. You're not writing this.
Yeah. That's why you do so well.
Which you think might be a benefit, but I feel like you put in Tottenham time of first goal every week, as if it's
One day it will cop, and I'll be on the right side of it.
No, it doesn't always cop, and you're always on the right side because it's always lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So why is it going to be higher this time?
I think you've got to make your choice here, isn't it? Is it going to be Everton driving the fact this is going to be a higher, or is it going to be Tottenham driving the fact it's going to be a lower? And I've gone with the fact that Everton are in kind of dig-in mode at the moment. I feel, especially at home, it's a bit of that kind of siege mentality. A little bit, we're not really creating lots of chances. We're not really scoring goals. So we need to keep this very tight. It's like a Sean Dyche template. And that's the way I see this one going. I think generally I'd like to get Tottenham on side, but I think the final driver for me in the decision here was the fact that Tottenham playing last night, Wednesday night going into a Saturday lunchtime, because this is the early game on Saturday, isn't it? That might just have a little bit of a hangover from their usual explosive start. And that game last night was absolutely frantic, wasn't it? It was a great watch, but it was from the minute one, it was a typical Spurs and Postecoglou game, to be fair, and that second half start from them was incredible. But 3-0 draws in the last 5 for Everton kind of says where they're at the moment. They've not scored more than 1 goal in the last 9, so I think they are going to want to try and nullify Spurs initially, grow into the game, and then look to nick one. At home, only 1 of their last 7 has seen a goal earlier than this, lower than this line, and that came in the 29th minute, so even that wasn't particularly early. If you go on your side of it, I'm sure you're going to come at me with the stats on it, but Spurs is the complete.
You're the stat man.
Well, Dan works for WhoScored.com, so I think he might have a little handle on the stats.
Might do.
So,
Might do.
Maybe.
Yeah. So for Everton, I'll just stick with that side of the coin for me. 47.5 is the average time of the first goal across the whole season at home for Everton this campaign. So that's the reason why I'm going to go with higher on this occasion.
Okay, come then, Statman Dan.
Well, the first thing I wanted to mention is the midpoint is actually high. Like you said, I bring up Spurs time of first goal every week, but this is actually a little bit higher than it usually is in Spurs games, albeit like a couple of minutes, but still.
Because of Everton, probably? Or
I would have thought so, yeah. But, like, you mentioned Everton not scoring, and you're right, they've only scored twice in, their last 6 or something. But they're third for goals scored in the first 15 minutes with 5. There are a lot of joints here, by the way, but joint third with 5. And obviously Spurs are top. No team have scored more in the first 15 minutes than Everton. Than Spurs is 7.
That's a lot.
They conceded 1 last night in this time. And it's just the carnage of the Postecoglou way at the moment. And I can see a world where there's an early goal. Okay.
My counterclaim to that is only 3 Spurs away games this season would have been the right call for me being higher, but they were Forest, Palace, and Luton. So fair. Kind of games that I think might well fit a template.
But those also, apart from the Forest game, they fit into the earlier season where the games were end-to-end but weren't providing that many goals. If you go back to the beginning of November, Spurs' games in the Premier League have been 4-1, 2-1, 2-1, 3-3, 2-1, 4-1, 2-0, 2-1, 4-2, 3-1, 2-2, 3-2. Like, it's gone crazy. With Maddison back in the side as well. We saw Ollie Skip went very close after about 3 minutes last night when they started very fast. It seems to be like the hallmark of Postecoglou's Spurs team is coming out both halves, as you said yesterday, in the second half, just so fast, just trying to wrestle the initiative in the game and catch your opposition cold. And I would find it very awkward to ever go higher on this line. So keep doing it.
It is awkward, and I do feel uncomfortable doing it. But sometimes you've got to feel comfortable being uncomfortable.
Correct. That is fair. That is fair. We're going to Sheffield United against Aston Villa now, both looking to bounce back from defeats, high-scoring defeats, but defeats on Tuesday night. Total goal minutes, the mark we're looking at here was SpreadX. The midpoint is 158, so 153 to sell, 163 to buy. This is the total cumulative minutes that goals are scored within the game. So you want late goals and you want lots of goals if you're going higher. You want no goals or early goals if you're going lower for this one. Blades, Villa, 158, higher or lower, 3, 2, 1.
I'm actually a little bit surprised by that.
I'll go first.
Yeah, please.
Chris Wilder and his Sheffield United side, like, it just feels like they're going down swinging. The way that he's setting up his team is just to attack. And when you look at the league table and you see the gap they've got to make up, you can understand why they aren't going to stay up by drawing games. They aren't going to stay up by hanging in there and trying to nick results. When you look at the way that the game unravelled against Palace, albeit a lot of early goals, but generally very open. If you look at the way the game unravelled against West Ham as well, with the crazy penalty late on, and should there have been another penalty as well, he's creating chaos at Sheffield United, and that seems to be the way they're going to go. We know that Villa under Emery are also a high-scoring side too. This is a huge game for both teams, having dropped points in the week. I can't really see why it would fizzle out into anything more than a high-scoring affair. It's a high line, but I'm happy to go over. Higher, I should say.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's no surprise, like, Sheffield United have conceded the most goals in the league, which you'd expect of a team in their position. But 32% of their goals have come after the 75th minute, which is also the most of any team in the Premier League. So that kind of suggests there'll be late drama. Villa are high scorers, albeit I imagine if someone had put the lower paddle up, you'd be telling me their away form is nowhere near the levels of their home form. But we'll put that aside. They've scored 44 times this season. Oh, in fact, I've got it here. Only 14 of them have come on the road. But as I said, we'll ignore that. Villa themselves have scored 11 after the 75th minute. I quite fancy, just late drama.
A bit like the reverse fixture, of course.
There we go.
Which was only 1-1, but had 180 minutes worth of goals, because the goals come 90 plus 7 and 90 plus 8. So a repeat of that would do, but I'm with you there, George. I think your picture of how the game goes is how I see it as well.
Mind's eye.
Indeed, indeed. We've both got the bubbles going up there, saying exactly the same kind of scenario. I think Chris Wilder said that he was a bit unfortunate against Palace and that they came up with 2 £50 million players that made the difference. Well, I think he's going to come up against a few more of those type of players for Villa. Also their goalkeeper, and I'm going to have to apologise for my pronunciation, it's Ivo. You're the pronunciation king.
It's like Rabic.
Yeah, I think it's just say that surname.
Grubic.
End with
but we shouldn't laugh at these,
Yeah, Grubic.
Grubic.
Yeah. let us know the correct pronunciation, please. Evo?
Also with Ben Brereton Diaz having scored after a minute was then taken off at half-time. So I don't know.
Yeah, he did have an injury, but Cameron Archer would obviously be the replacement, a person who knows Villa extremely well and did score in the reverse. And I remember speaking to our good friend Sam Tighe, who said that his main concern was that infamous Aston Villa offside trap. The one person that probably knows it inside out and be able to spring it is Cameron Archer. So, interesting to see if Brereton Diaz is fit and available for this one, or is Archer. But yeah, all good. And you mentioned the Villa's concession rates. Well, they've conceded a league high 11 times between half-time and the hour mark, so high minutes. And they have conceded, if I can find it on here, 19 of their 30 goals away from home. So pretty leaky on the road. And it should be an entertaining fixture, as we said, with plenty of goals and therefore higher.
Absolutely should be. Another entertaining fixture. Looks like it's going to be Manchester United hosting West Ham. This is at Old Trafford. First up, we're looking at the supremacy market. So this is Manchester United being favourites to win the game over West Ham. 0.75 is the midpoint with spread X. So if you're going higher, that is a United win. If you're going lower, that is a West Ham or draw, I should say. Obviously, the reverse just before Christmas saw one of the most incredible Premier League punts I've ever seen, where West Ham were absolutely smashed up in the market and then obliged winning the game comfortably 2-0. But United favourites for this one. How do we see it going? Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Of course. Of course. Dan?
I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really have that many stats here. It's just purely based on what is going on at Man United. And I feel like this is the same as whenever we talk about Man United this season. It's just...
We talk about your script writing, Dan. It always does seem to fit Manchester United as well. Maybe it's because they're always on TV. Are you frantically searching for a soundbite from one of us to get the United fans flocking?
If you could. We'll
they won 1 in 6, I can give you that.
There we go, 1 in 6. It's terrible. It's just... It seems to be as well internal matter after internal matter after internal matter. You've got Rashford doing whatever he wants.
I feel bad about that. I mean, I've stuck up for him for a long time, but it feels like it is difficult to do so.
Very much so. But even you've got Anthony celebrating like he's won the World Cup after scoring.
Fair enough. Do you think? What do you mean?
Do you think against Newport?
But all the can't swear he's been given.
Yeah.
I think that he's allowed to have a bit of relief that he's done something and contributed in a way. I don't think he's suggesting that by scoring that goal he's some kind of saviour. I think that's probably him being like, thank God for that.
Yeah.
That was a miserable moment in my career.
Yeah,
I've done something. I've scored a goal. We were in a really awkward position in the game, and I've scored a goal that moves out of that awkward position.
Yeah, all right.
And don't have a go at Newport County. What have they done to you? Nothing. You see their goals?
Yeah. Quality. To be fair, they were quality.
Will Evans.
You'll see more of them next year.
Yes.
Right. Come on, Jack, save me.
Anyway, he's having a go, I think. Right, Kevin, you tell us why you think United are going to struggle against West Ham.
Well, not because Man United haven't lost a Premier League game in the month of February since 2018.
Love it.
That's a 22-game unbeaten run. But, of course, we can still win this. And that record continues because we've got the draw on side here. Again, it's tough to think of something new to say about Man United that we haven't said already. It's a shambles off the field. On it, they just lurch from kind of a good 10, 15 minutes in a game to switching off. They're conceding goals straight after half-time. They're not tracking runners. And that was against Newport as well, the same scenario that we see in the Premier League against a League Two outfit there. So, and let's not forget, West Ham are actually 6th in the table and well clear of Man United here. So I think their performances in the league this season have gone under the radar. And they're a tricky side to play against. I think they'll go to Manchester United. Obviously, the one prize that we've got of this is that both these sides play.
United beat Wolves 6-0 tonight, and West Ham get beat, and then suddenly we're like, whoa.
Yeah, we'll repaddle.
Yeah.
We won't.
Coverage
of our convictions. But why do you think, George?
I just think United aren't particularly good at the moment.
Perfect. Right then.
It's just, I think it's hard to make a case for United right now. And I think we saw in the first leg how the way that West Ham play, I think, really doesn't suit the way that United like to set up. Where United themselves are best in transition. They're going to play against the West Ham side who just do not want the ball. And they're just going to say, look, you guys just have the ball. We're going to sit in. And I don't think United have, I mean, they've got Bruno, who I think again is better when there's space for him to play into. I think when it's congested, he tries a lot, but it's very difficult to unlock a defence with his kind of long-range passing ability when you're getting on the ball in the final third. And then when you consider the talents that West Ham have on the break, especially with Jared Bowen, who's now back from injury, I think it's going to be, stylistically a game that United will struggle in. I don't think United are a team that want the ball, but they're going to have it here, especially at home, and the fans will demand they do so too. So
I'll also point out, if we remember not too long ago, that Manchester United game against Tottenham, where they were in all kinds of trouble with Pedro Porro's deliveries, especially from corners. I give you James Ward-Prowse. Yeah. No further questions, Your Honour.
JWP.
Uh-huh.
Total goals now in this one. This is with Sporting Index. The midpoint is 3.1. So the amount of goals in the same game, Manchester United against West Ham. This is one of the markets you can use your free bets in if you do sign up for the new customer offer. Bet25, get 50 in the description below. Total goals 3.1. United, West Ham 3, 2, 1. You love goals.
I love goals.
Goals. Fun.
Yeah, listening to the rationale from. Well, to be fair, all three of us in the last one is making me think, why have I done this?
You should have listened to your rationale before you then listened to this one.
Yeah. I mean, like the Ward-Prowse thing that you bring up is...
It's 4 goals.
Yeah.
I know, I know. But like there have been quite a few goals in United home games recently.
2 and 3-2, the last 2.
There we go.
Yeah.
And quite a few in West Ham's recent away games. We got 5-0 loss to Fulham.
Yeah.
And 4 against Sheffield United in that game. So I'm just hoping that run continues. I like the chaos that's going on at Man United. I can't see them keeping a clean sheet. And I also just think, well, your boy Anthony, he's bound to continue his form, isn't he?
Tony? No, it's a tough proposition, this, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you guys know I really struggle to look at the total goals market and think lower.
You're a fun fiend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reasons I said, I think we know how West Ham are going to set up. I think United will struggle to break them down. I think West Ham aren't necessarily the most free-scoring side anyway. I mean, you are right in what you say about United's games being... Their last 2 home games have seen 4 and 5, but before that, you have to go back to... Are they the only ones of the season? Yeah, 4 against Brighton back in September the 16th.
When Brighton were Brighton.
Yes, and Brighton no longer seemingly Brighton. Jack?
Yeah, same stuff we've already talked about. Only Burnley and Sheffield United have scored fewer goals than Manchester United this season, which is incredible. And Dan, I know you're a historical stats man.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised you didn't bring up the fact that this lower has landed in the last 6 meetings between these two sides. The last 5 at Old Trafford as in the league, and 8 of the last 9 in all competitions across all venues. That's quite solid historical stats. But onto this season, and 5 of 21 Manchester United games have seen over 3.5 goals, which is obviously what we need here for this to be higher. So obviously going lower, that's the second lowest total across the campaign. And for West Ham, it's 10 of 21. And at home, 4 of 11 Man United games have seen that higher, and 6 of West Ham's 11 away. So for me, as we said, I think West Ham are going to dig in here and make it tough for them to break down. It might be a bit of a war of attrition in this one against a misfiring Man United side. I think so West Ham look to nick it on the break, and I think they can do, and therefore will nick it and also be low scoring. Double bubble.
Nick it and low scoring. I mean, you got 1-0, you got 2-0, you got 2-1 onside. Great bet. Right, Arsenal against Liverpool, probably the game of the weekend. 2 teams who won in midweek. Arsenal at home in this one and are the favourites at 0.35 favourites in the supremacy market, which is where we're going here with Sporting Index. So lower is Liverpool or draw, higher is an Arsenal win. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Across the board.
Stick with you, Jack. Tell us why Arsenal are going to drop points at home to Liverpool.
Yeah, well, you look at their home record, 8 wins from 11. You'd say that's a very solid base, but possibly not as strong as you'd want it to be for a title contender. But I feel they've been a little bit inconvincing of late. Arsenal, watched them again in midweek, and against Forest, they made it pretty tricky for themselves to win that one. Albeit away from home. And of course, we've already played Liverpool twice this season, once at Anfield and in the FA Cup. at the Emirates, and also very recently as well. The game's coming in December, January, and now obviously one in February, so quite rare for that to occur. But of course, Liverpool did win in that FA Cup tie at the Emirates. So we'll have confidence, and I just think they've been exceptional this season, full stop. But the questions were they going to be able to do it with Mo Salah being absent? They've proven that they certainly are. Fantastic result last night. Destroyed Chelsea, really, didn't they? 4-1. Was probably a lucky scoreline for Chelsea more than anything else. But no side have earned more points on the road this season than Liverpool's 22. Only one defeat as well, which is obviously crucial for the fact that we are getting both the draw and Liverpool win on side here. And have scored in all 17 road trips across all competitions this season. So if they're scoring goals, you've always got a great chance of at least picking up a point.
Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, you've done all the hard work with the stats. I'm just so excited by Liverpool at the moment. Last night, I just thought they were so good.
Yeah.
Literally across the board.
10
every
shots
position.
for Darwin Núñez.
11, I think.
Was it 11?
Yeah. The most.
Still recounting them.
How many woodworks?
Yeah, still recounting. Say again.
How many woodworks was it?
4.
Unbelievable.
A record in Premier League history
I
is
feel
4.
for him.
11 is a record shots in the league by a single player in a single game this season. 1.5 XG. Although that's not his highest this season.
That's low.
Coming against Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I did mention to Dan earlier that the WhoScored.com mobile page needs to be widened because he had an assist, a yellow card, a missed penalty, and 4 woodworks.
Oh my!
So it kind of
Yeah.
Diogo Jota was like
Almost
shoved
like
off the page.
when you have someone's name on the back of their
Yes.
shirt, like goes down their side.
Exactly, that's what we need.
Yeah.
A curly graphic for Darwin.
Get a new phone.
I could put it. Maybe I
iPad.
could do it.
Yeah. Curly iPad.
Yeah.
Fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
idea.
you go.
What a think tank.
And
Back to you. Sorry.
Obviously, this game has got title race implications, and I think with that in mind, I'd much rather be on Liverpool's side than Arsenal's, and to get the draw in is a massive bonus.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Liverpool look great at the moment. Their performance against Chelsea was really impressive. I know people say it's only Chelsea, but I still think to dominate midfield in the way that they did, and to dominate a game the way they did, create so many chances. And also just didn't let up. They went ahead early, they just carried on going. They didn't let Chelsea back into the game, really, although I guess Chelsea could argue they may have had a penalty, which would have made things a bit more nerve-wracking for Liverpool at 3-2. Had they scored the penalty. But very keen on them. Arsenal, as we know, their form has dropped off a little bit. They did get past Nottingham Forest on Tuesday night, but they weren't convincing at all. Lots of the ball, but not creating too much. And then, again, when they went ahead, they had Forest coming back into it, making it awkward for the last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So, at the moment, I think Liverpool are the better team. I understand why Arsenal are favourites at home, but I do think I'd rather have both Liverpool and the draw inside rather than just Arsenal. Same game, the Sporting Index total goal minutes, 161 is the midpoint here. So 3 minutes higher than Sheffield United, Aston Villa. Are we going higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Both higher.
Yeah.
Interesting. Recently, big games in the Premier League seem to have taken more of a trend towards being high scoring. But this game, what was it? Was it 1-1 in the first, when they played just around Christmas time, 2 goals in the first half. When there's so much at stake, it's a bit like a derby game. When there's so much at stake, I just can't see why, unless it's really end to end with teams being clinical when they go forward. Like whoever goes ahead in this game, unlike Liverpool in midweek against Chelsea, where there's a team they can expect to dominate, they're at home. It feels like we'll kind of sit on their lead a little bit. And I think even though they've got brilliant attacking players on both sides, both of these sides at their best have relied on having a very strong defensive unit. And for that reason, I think defences could come out on top here in a game where it's really important that neither team concede and lose the game. Like losing is a bit of a disaster for either. So yeah, it's a high line and I'm pretty happy. I mean, I wouldn't surprise me at all if this is 0-0 or 1-0 either way, really. Why am I wrong, Jack?
It took all my might to go higher here, to be honest. Everything about me was going, yeah, that's a high line and this could be lower. But then I just looked at the attack and talent on display and I just thought this could really go off. And so an early goal and neither side can afford to lose it all, really, to be fair, in that title race. So, yeah, I just felt that's all the way it could go. I haven't watched both of them during the week, and also their penchant for late goals this season as well. That was the deciding factor, I think, for me. Incredibly, 8 of 11 of Arsenal home games this season have seen goals after the 80th minute. and on three occasions there were multi-goals after the 80th minute. Yeah. And for Liverpool, that's even more. 9 of their 11 away games have seen goals after the 80th minute. Three times multi-goals. Combined 13 goals in the 90-plus minute between these two sides from 22 respective home and away games. So I just feel there could be a little bit of late match madness in this one. If certainly there is a goal difference between the two, it could well turn into a bit of carnage.
Great stuff. Dan?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, is that, yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely. Like Liverpool's just seems like goals at the moment, and I think like to your point about defences, like I get what you're saying, and I do actually agree. But I just think if Liverpool can go up early, I know that doesn't really help with the minutes, but like they just won't stop, and it will just it could unfold into absolute carnage, which is what I'm hoping here. And like you've seen it with Arsenal recently, like conceded late versus Forest, and then you had the Martinelli 90-plus madness that Jack rightly predicted a few weeks back. Like, yeah, I can see there being basically the opposite to you, which is probably music to your ears, actually. Lots of goals and a few late ones. So, yeah, it might be a high line, but I think higher. Interestingly, X, who you're probably not as happy to hear, side with you.
Do they?
There we go.
Because normally you think X go higher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Twitter. Finally, Monday Night Football. The Monday Night Football is Brentford hosting Manchester City. Brentford obviously smarting after that 3-2 defeat. Some good Instagram content from Neil Maupay last night. He'll be hoping that he can get on the score sheet again, as will Ivan Toney, who you picked here for the player goal minutes. 2 from 2 since his return from absence. His player goal minutes line here is 16.5. So quite low for a striker, but as you'd expect against Manchester City. 15 to sell, 18 to buy. Higher or lower, the total amount of minutes that Ivan Toney scores within the game. 3, 2, 1.
Got someone on my team.
Go on,
I like
then.
it.
Just whilst you do that, I'm going to have a look at oddschecker to see what price Ivan Toney is to score at any time.
He's using that route.
Okay.
Interesting. Go on, Dan.
To be honest, yeah.
He scored in his first 2 games.
Yeah, and he's faced
100% record this season.
And he's faced City twice, and he scored 2 goals.
Sounds like it's about time he didn't score.
Potentially, yeah. But you mentioned, right, it's a low line. And I'm using your own theories against you here. No. Is that he is likely to play 90 minutes, right? There's a low chance that he gets pulled off, although Jack did mention to me off air that he was holding his hamstring, was it, at the end of the game? Calf. There we go. But, yeah, of course, if he doesn't start, the bet will be void. So,
yeah.
What if he when he starts, his calf starts hurting?
They wouldn't risk that.
No.
Clubs never, ever risk their best player when they rush back for injury, so it's fine.
No, so they won't.
He's 11 to 4 to score any time.
Yeah.
So I'm backing a 4 to 11 shot with the added bonus if he scores in the first 15 minutes, I still win. As I say, he scored 2 and 2. He's come back looking really sharp. He's staking a very good claim to be Harry Kane's kind of number 2 in the summer. But he's not going to score in every game. Is
ruining the dream.
It's not how it works, I'm afraid. And as you say, he scored twice against City before. He's not going to score in every game against City. It's trends like that. And I'm not saying the fact that he scored 2 and 2 and the fact he scored 2 and 2 against City doesn't mean he's not going to score here. I just think that line of thinking is
irrelevant.
None and void. Yeah. He's a player that I love, but yeah, I'm happy to back the heavy odds on shot here and go lower. Jack.
I don't know. Someone with swagger, confidence, some would say arrogance, who just knows they're good at what they do. Enough about you, George. Let's talk about Ivan Toney. I learnt from that last time when I called him Ivan. I just think that for me, this is a seller's market. We've talked about it before, but this is a prime striker in good form. Obviously, comes straight back and hit the ground running, and looks he means business. And I think you'll want to put on a show against the best team in the world, arguably. And I think at home as well, Monday night, we know that the Brentford's home stadium does kind of lift up an octave or two in these type of fixtures. So I think he'll thrive on that. He's obviously formed a rather interesting and somewhat niggly partnership with Neil Maupay up front. So we'll see how that goes against them. obviously on free kicks, on penalties as well, and against a City side that have been conceding goals, and Brentford have had a bit of a number on them over the last couple of fixtures they've played. So I think there's chances there, and I just think the line is low enough for me to attack this one on the basis that he can nick a goal in against City.
Yeah, and last night you see like they had the job like well done against Burnley, and yet still concede late. So if there's anyone in the league that is going to get a chance and you'd back to score, it's Ivan Toney, right? No matter who he's playing against. So that's no.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I need a bit of time to think about that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
He was third top goal scorer last season as well. Let's not forget, behind Haaland and Kane.
He's quality. I'm not denying it.
Yeah. So I just think that if this was a Haaland, Kane, Salah line, we'd be all over it.
I reckon you two are going to WhatsApp pictures of Kevin Keegan to each other after this.
Love it. Love it.
Great stuff. Thank you to both of you for sharing a tips insight ahead of this weekend's football. You guys at home, make sure that you check out the new customer offer. If you don't have a SpreadX or a Sporting Index account, you can find it in the link below. T's and C's do apply, and with spread betting, losses can exceed your initial deposit. Make sure you check out WhoScored.com for all of your stats needs to inform your betting ahead of the weekend, and oddschecker for all of the fixed odds stuff as well. We'll be back again next week. Hopefully, some winners in there. Hopefully, Jack and I can pull further clear of Dan and yourselves. But in the meantime, enjoy the football, and please ensure that you gamble responsibly.